Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I am here as a part of Pretty Pink Posh Day for Stamp Timber over at Simon Says Stamp. And today, September 3rd, this exclusive stamp and die set is being released. It was designed by Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm going to be making a card with this. And so first I'm starting out by snipping my dies apart with these Elizabeth Craft die snips, and I just love them because I need that hot air balloon because that's going to be the focal point of my card. So once I got my dies separated, I'm going to go ahead and pull off this hot air balloon stamp, and I'm going to ink it up in some VersaFine Black Onyx ink and stamp it onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock. Now I'm going to be coloring with some Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers today, and I picked up a tip from Nicole McGork, and she said she has been talking about the smooth Bristol with the Zig Clean colors, and so I thought I'd give it a try, and I have to say she's absolutely right. The blending that you get on this smooth Bristol is absolutely wonderful. So I've gone ahead and stamped this twice with some VersaFine, and I'm just heat setting it before I start the watercoloring so I don't smudge those. And I have my Clean Color Real Brush markers here. This is how I store them. I got this tip from Jennifer McGuire. And I haven't got to color code mine yet, but that is on my list of to-dos. And I'm going to start out, and I'm just kind of going to do a rainbow pattern on this balloon, but instead of red, I'm using pink. The two colors I'm using for the pink section are light carmine and tea rose, and I will have all of these colors linked over at my blog as well as in the description at YouTube. So I'm starting out by putting the darker color kind of around the edges, and then I'm going to go in with the lighter color, which is the tea rose, and just kind of blend that out. Now, like I said before, was really amazed at the results I got on this Bristol Smooth cardstock. I've tried it on watercolor paper and Nina and haven't been overly happy with the results that I get when I'm just blending two colors together, but this cardstock really made a difference. And you can see how easily it's blending out. I'm not having to overwork the colors at all. And so when I blend out that darker color with the lighter color, I'm going to go back and just at the very edges add just a little bit more of the dark color and not blend it out because that's just going to add a little intensity to the edges. Now I'm moving into orange, and I'm using orange, which is 070, and 052, which is bright yellow. And that bright yellow really has an orange tint to it. And when you kind of blend that orange and that yellow together, you get a nice light orange. You can see I've moved across in a rainbow pattern. For the yellow, I used lemon yellow and yellow. And for the green, I used light green and pale green. And for the blue, I'm using turquoise green and light blue. And in the same fashion, just adding the dark to the edges, blending it out with the lighter color, and then going back and adding a little bit of dark. Now for the basket, I wanted to keep it a little bit lighter. So this darker color that I'm using is actually mustard. And I'm going to blend it out with oatmeal. So that keeps the center part of that really nice and light and gives me a really nice light basket. Now, I had a hard time deciding what color I wanted this band and this bunting around this balloon. I kind of went back and forth. In the end, I decided to make my bunting pink, and I'm going to go back and add some grays to keep that band white. I did go ahead and stamp the little doggy from the stamp set. I thought it would be fun to have him peeking out of the balloon. And so for the dog, I'm using light brown, deep brown, and oatmeal, and just kind of blending those all together. And I did add a little blush for his cheeks, which is the 069. So once I got all of my pieces colored, I'm going to go ahead and run them through my Big Shot with the coordinating dies and cut those out. And while I have my die cut machine out, I'm going to go ahead and cut my card front using the Simon Says Stamp stitched rectangle dies and I'm using the Bristol Smooth cardstock again because I am going to do a little tiny bit of blending on this with those Zig Clean colors. And this is going to give me a nice stitch detail around my card front, and it's also going to coordinate with the Pretty Pink Posh Stitch Borders 2 die that I'm using here, which has a little stitched edge. Now this scallop edge to me really reminded me of a cloud, so I'm going to go ahead and emboss or deboss this on that Bristol Smooth cardstock as well. So for the cutting sandwich that I'm using for this to deboss these in, I'm using the multi-purpose platform on tab 1, and then a cutting plate, and then the Spellbinders tan mat, And then I have my paper and the die, and then another cutting plate on top of that. So you're going to set this up just like you would if you were embossing with an embossing folder, but you're going to add that tan mat instead. Now I have these really nice stitched cloud border edges on the front of my card, and I'm just adding this haze blue Zig Clean Color Real Brush marker, and then I'm going to blend it out with the Wink of Stella. It's going to keep that line from being too harsh, and it's going to add just a little bit of shimmer to those clouds as well, and just really kind of create some interest. Now I did go back and underneath the clouds add a little bit of the Cool Gray one, which is the 099, and just to add a little more shadow to those. And inside of the balloon, because I wanted it to look like the sky was in the background, I added a little bit of that blue haze marker as well. Now I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of shimmer to the balloon, so I'm going over that with my Zig Wink of Stella clear glitter brush marker as well. But you have to remember that since these Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers are water-based, you can move the color around. So I'm being very careful. I'm kind of blending toward the center at first, which is kind of bringing the darkness into the center, and I didn't want that. And you'll notice I'm scribbling off between each of the colors to keep the colors from blending together. So once I went over that once in the downward direction, I'm going back away from the center to kind of lighten up that center again and give me that highlight back. So now that I have my hot air balloon all colored and ready to go, I'm going to work on my sentiment. So I'm prepping a piece of Licorice Twist cardstock here with my EK Success powder tool, and I'm inking up the Sending You Love sentiment from the stamp set in some Versamark ink, and I've stamped it onto the bottom of this black cardstock, and now I'm just using a little super fine detail embossing powder to emboss this in white. And I like to go ahead and let my heat tool heat up before I take it to the paper. I just find that I get a little less warping. And once I get that heat set, then I'm going to take it over to my trimmer and trim that down. By stamping on the edge, it makes it really easy to get a really nice even border around when you want to cut your sentiment into like a banner strip. So I've gotten that all trimmed out, and this is where I finally decided what color I was going to leave that little band across the hot air balloon. And I'm going to leave it white, but I did want to add a little bit of shading. So I am using the 099 Cool Gray 1 and the 901 Gray Tint. Now the gray tint is the actually a little bit deeper one. So I'm just adding that at the edge and then blending it out with the Cool Gray 1 marker. I've also used these mini heart dies from Simon Says Stamp. These are an older one, but these I have found so many uses for. I've cut them out of a little bit of gold glitter cardstock, and I'm going to attach those onto the front of the card. And for the sentiment, I'm just stacking it up with a little bit of the We Are Memory Keepers Clearly Bold Polka Dot Acetate, as well as a little gold glitter cardstock. And I've just attached those all together with my tiny attacher to kind of keep them in place until I get them mounted onto my card front. So you can see I've trimmed them into various banner ends, and I've trimmed off the edge, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach it to my card front using a little bit of foam adhesive. Now for the hot air balloon, I'm actually going to attach that on using an action wobbler because I thought it would be really fun to have this, have some movement and a little bit of interest. So this adds dimension and some movement, and I thought it was super fun. So what would Pretty Pink Posh Day be without a little bit of sequins, right? So I'm going in, and on those little dots that are on that band on the hot air balloon, I'm adding the 4mm sparkling clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh, and I've just attached those using a little multi-medium in the matte finish. And then I'm going to add some kind of sprinkled around in my sky background. I've mixed the 4mm and the 6mm for the backgrounds. And then I've also attached those little gold glitter hearts onto the card front using some multi-matte medium as well. Now, I thought it would be fun to bring in that polka dot acetate again, and this is really hard to see in the pictures, but it makes for a fun accent layer on the front of this card. So I'm going to go ahead and mount my card front onto this Clearly Bold acetate. I'm just using a little tape runner adhesive here, and then I'll attach my card front onto that. And behind this, I'm going to mount this onto my Nina Solar White 110-pound card base with a little bit of the fun foam behind it. And that's just going to give it a little bit of lift and really help that acetate to stick out on the card. Now, like I said, it's really hard to see in the pictures, but in real life, it makes for a really fun accent. So I've taken my fun foam, it's cut down here to the size a little bit smaller than my card front, and I've added a little bit of the Be Creative tape to it, and I'm just attaching it to the back of my card front, and then I've attached it to my card base, and that completes my card for today. And you can see the fun element that that action wobbler adds to the front of this card, just something kind of fun and interactive and unexpected for the recipient. As always, I will have links to all the products used in this project in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com, where you can also see more still shots. Be sure you head over there because a lot of the other Pretty Pink Posh designers are also participating in this special Pretty Pink Posh Day for Simon Says Stamp Timber, and I have their links to their blogs over there. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.